right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike. And today for UFC London, we're going to be breaking down the card with one of my favorite people in the space, Clint from Die Hard MMA. Clint, thank you for coming on, brother. As always, really appreciate it. How are you feeling about this card, man? You looking forward?
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a good time to hang out and talk fights with you. I love this card, dude. After last week, it was a dumpster fire of a fight night. Ended up being a pretty fun night. But this fight card is like low key stacked. I mean, these aren't your top tier, top of the line names necessarily, but they're all knocking on the door. There's some implications. There's some fun fights. I love this week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. We got 15 fights, which is always my favorite kind of card. So we'll go through all of them from the bottom up as always. Guys, if you see some lagging going on between me and Clint, there's some internet issues on both sides. So that's just a heads up there. And we'll hop right into the card. First fight up, we've got Jafel Filho versus Daniel Barbarina. Filho is 14-3-0. He is 30 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. On the other side, you've got Barbarina, 16-5-0. He's going to be 4 years older at 34, 1 inch shorter, and he's got a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Clint, why don't you start us off for this one, brother?
Man, this is a tough fight, a really tough fight. I mean, closely lined fight. Filo's a slight favorite. I don't feel like he's getting enough credit for what he did against Muhammad Mokaev personally, man. This guy was 1-1 as a massive underdog with a kid that's destined to be a contender. And he damn near submits him. I mean, anybody else in that spot deep in round 3, knee bar, leg bent completely backwards. People tap there, man. People absolutely get out of the cage in that moment. I think Filo's got a lot of upside here, and I'm not sure what everybody's fascination with Barbarina is. He's not super young. In fact, he's not young at all. He's almost as old as I am. So it's not like he's a prospect anymore. You rarely see these guys that are like Glover Teixeira that get to the UFC late and then suddenly explode and become something in the UFC. I just am not overly impressed with Barbarina. He's a banger. He's fun. He comes forward, but he's fought a bunch of bad guys to get here. He's 4 years older. He lost his Dana White's Contender Series fight via split, where he was like gassing out deep in the 3rd round, had his back given up to Carlos Hernandez. I think that Filho can actually have a win in this spot with a grappling based game plan. And it's not like he's a bad striker either. So I feel like this is going to be a banger. Should be fun. I haven't bet it yet or anything, but I kind of lean to Filho.
Yeah, I'm hyped. I'm hyped. We line up here. I'm on Filho also, and it feels like literally everybody and their mom is on Barbarina. Yeah. And I'm not really sure why either. I think maybe they're excited off of the 4 wins he's gotten over absolute bums since that Contender Series fight. What I really think it is I think people are doing a lot of MMA math. Barbarina went close with Hernandez. Hernandez bodied Bondar. Therefore, Barbarina is an animal. He's good, but I think Filho is the animal here. I think Filho is really, really talented. He's 30. He's still got time to improve, even though he's not a spring chicken. 34 for Barbarina, like you said. I think we're starting to see the finished product with him. I'll maybe give the distance striking to Barbarina, but not by much. I think Filho can stand his own on the feet as well. He's got a lot of power. I think he can hurt Barbarina. I think a club and sub is super live. I think he can wrestle. And if Barbarina decides to wrestle, do it, because I think Filho will submit him on the ground. I'm fairly confident that at some point, sooner or later, Filho will find that sub. And I've actually got 2 units on him. I played it a while ago at minus 115 when it first came out. And the line's been back and forth. He opened like minus, I think, 300 or something crazy like that. But I've got him at minus 115 for 2 units. I like him quite a bit. I think he's got Barbarina covered everywhere except maybe the distance striking. That's really all I'm seeing here.
Dang, man, you're not kidding. He did actually open up at minus 350. I did not even see that. That's insanity to me. Yeah, I think he's the rightful favorite. Minus 300, obviously a little bit wide. But I'm tempted at minus 120, and I'm still waiting for props, man. I love the sub call because I think that's probably his most likely win condition too.
Yeah, I'm seeing it plus 375 for the sub on Bet Online, but I got a feeling our boys at FanDuel or Bet Rivers might give us something a little bit better there, as per usual.
Fingers crossed.
But all right, we can move on to the next fight. Here we've got Bruna Brasil versus Shauna Bannon making her UFC debut. Brazil's 8-3-1. She's 29 years old, 5'6" with a 65-inch reach. On the other side, you got Bannon. She's 5-0 undefeated. She's also 29, 1 inch shorter. Tapology says she's got a 69-inch reach, which would give her a 4-inch reach advantage. I'm not sure how true that's going to be, but I'll start us off. Look, I'm not impressed with Shauna Bannon. In terms of the striking, there's really not much there. There's this left kick that she throws nonstop, as my boy CT always brings up, brought up to me in the DMs, and he was very right. It's literally just this left kick that she's throwing over and over and over again. She's got some grappling upside, but I really don't think it's going to be enough here to take down and control Bruna Brasil. I just think Bruna's going to be better everywhere, especially in the striking, especially at range. I think she's really slick. I think her stock has fallen quite a bit after that Denise Gomez loss, but that's aging pretty well, isn't it? I mean, Gomez came in there, cashed me a plus 375 ticket against Uregi. So I think that loss has aged pretty well. I just think that Brazil's so much better everywhere, and I have a hard time seeing her lose this fight. I played her at minus 115 as well for 1.2 units. Much wider now, minus 150. I'm seeing minus 135. I think it's a fair line. I really think she's going to cover. I think she's going to beat up on Bannon here. How about you, Clint?
Yeah, this is another spot where I'm just kind of confused with the line, man. I know Bannon is the one who's getting the push. I know she's the hometown girl. She's low on experience, and Bruna Brasil seems to be just kind of a better version of her, a more experienced version of the same fighter. You know what I mean? That's kind of how she comes across to me here. I don't really want to lay minus 155 on this low level of women's MMA because mistakes can absolutely happen. But man, you talked about Denise Gomez. Props to you for going back to the well against Horegi. I said that line was wide, but I didn't trust my balls enough to actually pull the trigger and make a bet on it. I got her against Bruna Brasil though. So like, I knew to stay away from parlaying Yasmin. I just didn't sack up enough to go back to the well. I think that obviously ages pretty well, right? Like, not only it wasn't a meme KO from Gomez, it wasn't like it was a bad loss. She just did that shit to somebody who we all thought was a contender, maybe the next one in line. Like, that's not a problem. You're okay coming back from that. I think she's gonna have no problem kicking with Bannon at range. Bannon seems slow to me, man. She does have decent footwork, but she's so slow on the reload. I think Brazil's going to have a real big speed advantage. And if you go back and you watch the Denise Gomes fight, one of the big knacks that we had on Bruna Brasil was her lack of wrestling ability, her lack of grappling. She tried to wrestle Denise Gomes. She went to the body lock. She pinned her up against the fence. Like, she was actually the one starting the grappling. And I like that because that means she's obviously working on it. She knew her win condition. She didn't want to stand with this girl. It shows some decent IQ. And if she wrestles Bannon, I don't see why she can't just lay on this chick like a wet blanket. I think there's plenty of paths to victory. You worry about the home cooking just a little bit, but I think it's Brazil. I like Bruna in this spot. Again, haven't bet it, but I'm very tempted.
I feel like there's only so much home cooking they could do. Like, if it's clear, they have fucked it up, but hopefully we're okay. Hopefully.
Yeah.
We can move on. This next fight is going to be a ton of fun. We got Chris Duncan versus Yanal Ashmouz. Duncan 10-1-0, 30 years old, 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. He's out of American Top Team. Ashmouz 7-0 undefeated. He's going to be 2 years younger at 28. 5'9", so he's 1 inch shorter, which I don't really believe, but whatever. And he's got a 68-inch reach, so he's at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. K Dojo Warrior Tribe for him. That's the same camp as Mirzakhanov. That's the camp that Habib trained at when he first got to America. Why don't you start us off, Clint? I know you got a side here.
Yeah, man. I like this fight. I like it a lot. I apologize. My dog is chiming in here with
dog
me
is
barking in the background. Yes, he is. That's our boy Link. I like Yanal Ashmouz. I like him a lot, man. This is a spot where two things collide here in this spot for me, and that's I don't think Duncan is very good. I kind of think he's low-key a bum waiting to get exposed. And then I really like Yanal Ashmouz, and I think this guy is underrated. So combined, it's an obvious bet on the dog for me. That's what's up, Dylan. Thank you. I really think that Duncan is going to I talked about this on my show, man. You know how when you're a black belt, you get punched in the mouth, you turn into a brown belt, you get punched again, now you're a purple belt. The same thing applies with these guys that bite down on the mouthpiece and swing. These brawler types that just come in and throw hands. As soon as they taste their own blood, game plan out the window. Like, they don't follow the plan after that point. It's just, I'm going to punch you as hard as I can because I'm panicking right now. And that's what this guy does. He comes out to strike with people. He's not as slick as he thinks he is. He gets cracked, and then he panic wrestles and throws heavies. That ain't going to work on Yanal Ashmouz. This guy trains with Russian killers that are incredible wrestlers in the gym day in and day out. He's going to be ready to stuff those takedowns. He's going to be able to stay up on the feet, and he throws hammers. So when this guy comes in a little bit reckless with his hands down, searching for a single leg, he's going to get cracked again. And I took Yanal Ashmouz in his UFC debut as a nice big old fat underdog. Not for the KO power, man. In my breakdown, this is beautiful because you can go back to it. And I talked about how he can grind. I talked about how he can wrestle. I talked about how durable he is. He's got good fight IQ. He'll pin you up against the fence and not let you move when he needs to. He will chip away at you. And that's what I thought he was going to do in his UFC debut. Now he nuked the kid. So I was like, oh, sweet. Like, let's add vicious power to the list of what this guy has to bear. So I think he's got every piece that he needs. ATT Chris Duncan doesn't scare me one bit. There's only so much you can polish a turd. Give me Yanal Ashmouz, and I'm calling for the KO, baby.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I mean, so me personally, I want to like Ashmouz here. I really do, because that Duncan chin really has been questionable. I mean, it's getting cracked every time. But the thing is, for me, you look at who's cracking it, and what do they all have in common? They're throwing straight punches. And what does Ashmouz not really do? Doesn't really throw any straight punches. So that's like one of my things is, like, at range, do I really think Ashmouz is going to have that same kind of success? Not really. But at the same time, I think we're going to spend a ton of time in the clinch, and there his power will be there, and he'll have every opportunity to land in the clinch. So he has it there. My other thing with Ashmouz is he has really good offensive wrestling. But for some reason, his takedown defense doesn't really seem to be there. Like, he's getting taken down in the regionals. One of the fights, he only got taken down like once. Then he completely out-controlled the guy. But then the other fight, he got taken down both rounds. And it didn't look like the first two rounds. And it didn't really look too great to me. So because of that, I'm staying off of it. I'm not going to play Ashmouz, but I'm also not going to play Duncan. I think this fight could really go either way. I need to see the weigh-ins. I got to see the size a little bit, because I do feel like Ashmouz is going to be smaller than it says. Like, it says it's a one inch height disadvantage. I think it might be a little bit more. And I just feel that Duncan might find a lot of success with the wrestling. But again, on the feet, if you have a Duncan ticket, you're going to be holding your breath the entire time, hoping he doesn't get... Because, look, Ashmouz only landed those 2 shots against Patterson, but holy shit, they were hard. I mean, it was nuts. Like, he put him out on the first one, and then before he even hits the ground, he makes sure he's out on that second one. And he was just down. And I was one of those guys who parlayed Patterson. And I was like, idiot. So
well, to be fair, man, even the people betting on Ashmouz didn't see that one coming.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anyone expected that kind of knockout. But, yeah, I get why people are on Ashmouz. I also get why people are on Duncan. But for me, it's a good stay-away fight. I considered the under because I think this is going to be violent as hell. But like you mentioned, Ashmouz is pretty durable. So I feel like most of the finishing upside is probably on his side. So because of that, I think I'm going to stay off and cheer for you. Hopefully you'll hit that ticket. And it's good to have another Israeli fighter. We have like nobody other than Natan Levy over here. So hopefully Yanal could represent a little bit better. But we can move on to the next one. We've got Ketlen Vieira versus Pani Kianzad. Vieira, she's 13-3-0, 31 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. Kianzad, 16-6-0. She's 31 as well. 1 inch shorter, 2 inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off, but I'm going to be quick because this is the one fight that I haven't been able to tape all too much just yet. My gut reaction right now, seeing the line and off of what I know, I kind of lean Vieira. I think she's going to be a lot more physical. I think she's going to find a lot of success at the clinch. At range, I think that it's probably Kianzad with the advantage, but I don't think Vieira is really going to be out of it there. And if anyone grapples, I do think it's going to be Vieira. She opened up crazy. She opened up at minus 325, believe it or not. Now she's minus 140, and the line is starting to get my attention. I'm going to do the tape, and if it keeps getting lower, I might end up on Vieira, but it's a spot I need to tape a little bit more. How about you, Clint?
Yeah, man, I think this fight has split decision written all over it. Like, both these girls have super solid takedown defense, and frankly, neither of them really shoot for takedowns. So I don't expect wrestling to be the game plan for either of these ladies. And with that being the case, we've got two super high output fighters, and we talk about Ketlen Vieira and her vaunted power. And you know what? I talked about it in my Holly Holm breakdown, man. She was hurting Holly, and that's part of why I thought that Silva was going to be able to get that KO. Vieira's only got 2 knockouts on her entire record. Like, she's not a knockout puncher, even at this weight class. Kianzad, tough as nails. She's not getting one punched anyway. Same thing on her end. So we're just going to get a slobber knocker back and forth. I feel like it's dog or pass from a betting angle because, frankly, Kianzad might be the crisper striker. And if we're just going to go, this is basically going to be a boxing match. Like, there's almost no kicks. Neither girl is wrestling. This is kind of going to be a cage clinchy boxing fight. That's going to be close. And I actually think that favors Kianzad. So unless someone pulls something crazy that we're not expecting, they've got a whole new game plan and a wrinkle that we haven't seen before. I kind of think Kianzad wins a decision here. But I think when DraftKings drops those split props, that's the way to look at it, man, because the judges aren't going to have any idea who won this thing. And we're going to have at least one round in there that everyone's kind of going, it was close. So I think we get a 15-minute back and forth battle and plus 400 on a split prop. I don't care who wins.
This fight does seem to scream split decision to me. Really does. I wish we got those on DraftKings. Here in New York, we really only get the splits on Bet Online recently started offering them occasionally. So maybe they'll give something, but the prices are so whack. When Yana Santos and Cara Rosa were fighting, I was like, this is a split decision fight. And it was. But the line was like plus 250. I was like, I'm not betting that.
Oh, that's weak, man. On DraftKings, I think the lowest I've seen is plus 350. Like, it's 400 seems to be the baseline. Like, if they just don't have any idea or don't care, the split is going to be plus 400. If it's a fight that should finish, you're getting plus 600, something like that on the split because they're thinking it's going to end before the decision. And then on women's MMA fights, you'll get like plus 350 where they're like, all right, we'll bring it down just a notch, but it doesn't go much lower than that. So I think we should get a pretty good number. That makes me sad. You guys should get better split props.
Yeah, they got to catch us up with a lot of these props. They opened the books for us when we legalized, but they're like not giving us everything. Like for DraftKings SGPs, you guys could do all this cool shit like takedowns and stuff. All week and same game parlay is aside, over unders for like over 1.5, over a half, and the finishing method. That's all we get.
That's rough, man. The same game parlays, and for me, I'm in Arizona. They usually only offer all the special stuff on like the main card fights. So if you want to do like fighter to have the most significant strikes, fighter to have the most knockdowns, takedown in round 1, like you can do those only for the main card though. I wish they opened that up for all of them, but I'm sure we'd just smash them if they did.
I mean, I've seen some crazy tickets that people have cashed that were like simple. Like it's so simple and it works. And I really hope we start getting some more things like the takedowns at least. But we can move on. This fight, I mean, everyone and their mom's got a parlay on this fight. We've got Brian Barbarina versus Makhmud Muradov. Barbarina, he's 18-10-0, 34 years old, 6 feet tall with a 72-inch reach. He is coming up to middleweight here for some reason. Muradov, 25-8-0. He's going to be 1 year younger at 33. 2 inches taller, 3-inch reach advantage. Why don't you start us off, Clint?
Man, I think this is a very easy fight to break down. Frankly, I don't understand how or why it's happening except to get Makhmud Muradov on track. Like, that's the only thing I can come up with. Brian Barbarina has been kind of a tough guy, middle of the road company man, takes a fight with whoever you want, anytime you want. He's a Donald Cerrone type. He's fighting up a weight class here. And the jump from 170 to 185 is not a small one, mind you, taking on Makhmud Muradov, who is not a small 185er. I don't understand where his advantage is here. I don't understand the thought process of even taking this fight in the first place. Like, Makhmud Muradov has crazy power. If he lands hard, we've seen Barbarina, his chin's kind of fading just a little bit. Barb probably does have higher volume, but frankly, if Muradov gets in trouble, Bryan Barbarina has no takedown defense. And Makhmud Muradov has been working really hard on his grappling. He can just set up shop on top of this guy if he needs to. Like, nuclear option, just take him down. Like, I don't see why Makhmud shouldn't win this fight everywhere the fight takes place. Wouldn't be surprised if he nukes him in round 1. Wouldn't be surprised if he sits on his chest and gets rounds. But I think Makhmud Muradov is very clearly being put in a position to succeed here. The only thing is the number's a little weird. Like, why was he only minus 250 to begin with? Like, he should have been minus 400 from the jump. I guess maybe people just think he's worse than he is, but I got to go with Makhmud Muradov personally. I don't even mind him in parlays.
Clint, do you see this? This is true. I just checked. It's true.
They were just talking about it, man. I saw it on Twitter. I guess
shit.
Too quick of a turnaround for Diakiese, which makes me very, very sad. But can you imagine media day for Strickland?
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Wow, I can't believe. I mean, Izzy's gonna spank him, but wow, that's crazy. I'm pretty surprised they made that fight.
The media day will be more fun than the event.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be the pressers are gonna be too good. They're gonna have to like shut up Strickland at some point, carry him off stage. But for this fight, yeah, I'm on Muradov. Like everybody else, I've got a Muradov Aspinall parlay. I think literally everybody has it.
Seems like low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, are we missing something? Like, he's coming up in weight, so like, he's gonna be out-muscled. But will maybe that mean that like he's got more power? He'll carry a little bit more power. Like Nathaniel Wood, we saw him come up to 145. Talk about him later. He's definitely carried that power up, definitely gained some power. Maybe that'll help. Maybe the output and the pressure, he can break Muradov similar to Mearshart, but I don't really think so. I think Muradov's going to win this. I just think people shouldn't go too crazy. I would say don't throw him in more than 1 or 2 parlays. Don't stake more than 2 units on him because he should dominate. He really should. But he should. At the same time, it's kind of hard to trust him at minus 350 right now, but he's losing to guys who are better than Barbarina, I think. So,
man? Okay. And I don't think he even lost his last fight. I've said this a couple times. Did you go back and actually run the tape on the Kyle fight before this breakdown?
Mm-hmm.
How did Kyle win that fight?
Control.
He spent rounds 2 and 3 on his back being punched. Like, even if you give him credit for like the submission attempts, he spent rounds 2 and 3 on his back. He got reversed. And then it was the Muradov show for 10 minutes. I don't understand how we got a Caio Borralho decision in that fight. Yes, I had a ticket, so I do have bet goggles, but it's now been, a year since the fight happened? I've rewatched it 3 times in preparation for breakdowns. My opinion has not changed. I don't understand where those scorecards came from. So even if he loses that fight and it's very close and competitive, what does Caio do to Bryan Barbarina? I know the math doesn't work, but like
it works here.
It works here. It just doesn't make sense to me, man. He should be the favorite. He should win. The extra weight is not going to suddenly gift Barbarina with power he's never had his entire career. He is not suddenly going to be strong enough to defend double legs. This man got smothered and schooled, embarrassed by Rafael Dos Anjos, who's a 155er.
Muradov should not lose this fight. 5 times by Anthony Ivy. His takedown defense is horrible.
Muradov should be straight cut before he leaves the cage if he loses this fight.
Before he leaves the cage.
Dana should just walk in, rip the contract right in front of him, and send him to Bellator because he doesn't belong here if he loses this.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to lose it, but I do say everybody be cautious. Don't go too crazy with the parlays. But we can move on. I'm excited for this one. We got Mick Parkin versus Jamal Pogues. Parkin, he is 6-0. He's undefeated, 27 years old, 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. Pogues, 10-3-0. He's 27, going to be 1 inch shorter and at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I believe it's my turn to start off. Look, this one's weird for me. on one side, I think that Parkin is really skilled, and I'm very excited to see just how good he is. But on the other hand, I don't know if I can trust him just yet because I haven't really seen enough because his competition before the UFC is garbage, which is, it's normal for most guys. Like on the regionals, you take what you get. And if you're good enough, you destroy them, which he has done. He destroyed all of them. And then his contender series fight, I mean, that was just weird. I had him there. I was very happy to cash, but he got taken down easy. And then the dude just died. The dude just completely just fell off a cliff. It was worse than Romanov versus Volkov, like how fast that cardio went. It was just, and that was actually Parkin's first sub ever. He had no sub wins before that. And then on the Pogues side, yeah, his wrestling's good. Was the Parisian fight good? Not really, but it did show me that he can strike pretty well. But then you look at the contender series fight. So leading up to that, Pogues wasn't a heavyweight. He was a 205er. He fought Alex Polizzi in the LFA. I love Alex. Tim Hiley. Both of those fights were at light heavyweight, I'm pretty sure. And the guy he fought in the contender series, what was his name? Paulo Renato Jr. That guy was a career 185er. Who hadn't fought in a minute and then came up and fought at heavyweight for some reason. And Pogues didn't wrestle him at all. He just struck with him. And was it impressive? Not really. So while I think Pogues could win this using his grappling and on the feet, who's better, it's very hard for me to tell. Maybe Pogues. I don't really know. For me, it's a pass because my gut is saying Parkin. My brain is saying maybe Pogues. And because of that, I got to pass. I have a feeling Parkin is going to pull this out. And I have a feeling that he's actually very good. But it's a spot where I need to wait and see. How about you, Clint?
I hear you, man. I'm taking that leap of faith. I'm already on Parkin. I agree with everything that you said. Honestly, I just don't think Pogues is very good. He's a guy I've kind of had my eye on to fade for quite some time. These guys that have been on the Dana White's Contender Series twice, it just doesn't seem to pan out. You know what I mean? The Contender Series, we're already kind of getting some scrubby type fighters that fill out a 3-fight contract and then get the boot afterward. That seems to be most of what's coming through Contender. And the guys that take 2 times to get that contract, it just does. It's icky, man. So I don't think he's very good. He's fighting in the wrong weight class. Yes, he's athletic and fast for a heavyweight because he's not a heavyweight. He's too small for this weight class. The one thing I'll give him is his jab. Pogues has a beautiful, intelligent jab. And if he stays behind it, and just touches somebody for 15 straight minutes, then God bless you. You managed to find a way to win. But I don't think that's going to work against anybody except Josh Parisian in the UFC heavyweight division, man. He's not going to be able to take anybody down except Josh Parisian in the UFC heavyweight division. So yes, maybe this guy's opponent on Contender Series death gassed after 2 minutes of fighting, which is weird. But Parkin is training with some solid competition, some high-level guys. He's working in the gym, not with nobodies. So he's here
now.
Yeah. So he's here for a reason. People are around him. He's in the right places. And he's a true heavyweight. He's going to be a big, thick man compared to Jamal Pogues. So as long as he's able to just shuck off 1 or 2 of those takedowns, I think the power shots are going to overwhelm the jab in this spot. I really do. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Parkin gets on top of Pogues. And if he wrestles Pogues, Pogues is a dead man walking. I don't know if he gets a finish, but I think Parkin's got a lot of paths to victory here. And frankly, I just think the wrong fighter's favored. It's just one of those cases where you'll know after Saturday. You know what I mean? I think I see all the signs I need to understand who the better fighter is. If I'm wrong, I will eat crow. I think this line should be flipped.
No, I'm with you. If not for the fact that he hasn't really fought too many people, I'd be on him too. I just need to see a teensy bit more, but I have a gut feeling he's going to pull it off. And I do think the size, like you mentioned, is going to be a factor. It's not like all heavyweights are super ripped, but you can tell Pogues is not meant for the weight class. There's a reason he was fighting at 205 previously. So I do think Parkins might be the stronger guy, and I think his striking might end up being better too.
Hey, Mike, are we just doing breaking news on the show tonight? Is that a thing? Can we do that?
Yeah, what are we breaking?
My guy Marcel just tweeted, Champion Islam Makhachev will fight Charles Oliveira at UFC 294. They made it happen. The rematch is on.
Wow. Crazy.
Everyone was saying that wasn't happening.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Who do you think takes it, Clint?
Bro, I'll be honest with you. I kind of think I'm back on the Charles train. Like I bet Charles against Benny pretty confidently. I couldn't believe the disrespect on that fight. And frankly, Islam has had holes poked in his game, man. I thought he lost the Volkanovski fight. I really do. And we've seen him get hurt on the feet before. If Charles is able to adjust and tweak his game plan, he's alive here, man. He really is. I mean, maybe it's just paper, rock, scissors, right? Like maybe Islam just has his number, but Charles is hard to bet against.
Yeah, he's definitely hard to bet against. I took Dariush there. I felt good for like 3 minutes, and then the second they got on the feet, I was like, God fucking damn it. I do think Islam probably gets him again. To be completely honest, I think he does have his number. It's just not a great matchup for Charles, but if it's on the feet, Charles has shown like he's got that striking. And
bro, same fight. Hamzat versus Costa just got confirmed as well. UFC 294.
Way. Oh, that's such an easy fight for Hamzat.
Nasruddin Imavov is taking on Ali Askarov on that same card. 3 fight announcements back to back to back.
Wow. Wait, Askarov the guy who Costa was supposed to fight?
Ikram, yeah. Ikram Ali Askarov, he's fighting Nasruddin Imavov that night
so
now.
they split them up and gave them different opponents.
Yep, because they're sacrificing Paulo to Chimaev.
They're setting up the next title fight for Izzy probably.
Absolutely.
After Dricus. Well, all right, we can move on. This next fight should be a good one. We've got Marc Diakiese versus Yoel Alvarez. Diakiese 16-6-0. He's 30 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Alvarez 19-3-0. He's also 30. He's going to be 5 inches taller. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. Clint, why don't you start us off? What you got here, brother?
Yeah, I got to apologize. The dogs think they heard something. We're puppy sitting, so we've got an extra one. So they're just going nuts here in the background today. Man, this is an interesting fight. I'm feeling good. I got in early on Yoel Alvarez, -155. I like him here in this spot. I don't trust Diakiese. Man, he went from being the bone crusher to being D1 Diakiese, and I just feel like he's lost, Mike. I feel like he's lost somewhere in the middle. He was a world-class striker, and he learned how to wrestle, and that's big ups, baby. Like, let's go. You round out that game. You can strike. You can wrestle. I'm loving me some Diakiese. And then he forgot how to finish, and now he doesn't have that killer instinct. And he felt frozen on the feet his last fight. Like, I just think he's lost. I think he's lost his way here. And if that's the case, he's going to have a real damn hard time with Yoel Alvarez, who's a lot like Jalen Turner, a big weight bully for this weight class. He's got an excellent kicking game from outside, so I think the range is going to be a problem. Diakiese is going to have to be all in or all out, and where he normally is comfortable kicking, that'll be the spot where Alvarez is having the success. And then once they do close range, I know Alvarez has never, stopped a takedown in his entire life, quite literally, but it's because he's got such a sick submission game. He can pull sweeps out of his ass because he's so big and he's got tree trunk thighs. He's massive at this weight class. He's got a nasty guillotine on him. We have seen Diakiese get caught in submissions before. I really feel like this is one of those backyard sell spots, man. Like, they're counting on Diakiese to sell these tickets, but Yoel Alvarez is the guy who's getting propped up in this fight. I'm not as big of a fan at -200 because it is getting a little pricey for a guy who could get wet blanketed. But I'm glad where I'm in at -155. I'm picking him to win, and I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes, honestly. Alvarez by sub is my prediction here.
Yeah, so going into this one, I also thought Alvarez, just because, Mark wrestles, Alvarez loves to go on the ground, and on the ground, he's a son of a bitch. I mean, he's so annoying. He won't stop going for the subs. He won't stop hitting you, so he's hard to control. But after doing the tape, I was like, damn, do I really want to lay chalk on Alvarez here? -155, that makes sense. But now at -190 and climbing, I was just like looking at it and like his takedown defense is 0. It's literally 0%. And I get he's comfortable, but then you look at the guys who he's submitting, right? What was his name? Danilo Bilardo, Joe Duffy, Alexander Yakovlev. those guys are
Hey,
no.
don't disrespect Yakovlev like that.
Dude, I had a guy today in my comments telling me that Duffy is better than Diakiese without realizing that the two of them fought and Diakiese killed him. So I thought that was funny. But look, the same problem obviously is here for Diakiese. He can be hit with the guillotine. He could be hit by an arm bar, triangle, whatnot.
Yeah.
But the more I watch it, I just feel like I'm watching him shoot, right? Because that's what I want to see. Where's his head? Is he sticking his head straight in the middle where it's going to be easy? Is he putting it somewhere where it can just get snatched up? And for the most part, he's actually not. He's being careful, and I could see it. He hasn't fought a sub threat like Alvarez yet. Maybe the closest was probably Alves, who did submit him with a club and sub, which Alvarez honestly could do too. I think the striking of Alvarez has come a really long way. I think against Thiago Moises, I cashed that ticket. That was awesome. He looked great on the feet, like really good. But at the same time, I feel like Diakiese is still also very good on the feet. I think the Michael Johnson fight, we saw it in round 1, how good he is. And then I don't know what the hell happened after that. He fought like an idiot after that. But he did try to shoot too. He did try to be D1 Diakiese. Michael Johnson, his new takedown defense is like godly, honestly. I mean, the takedown defense on the guy now is insane. So like I can't even blame Diakiese for not getting those. If he wants to get them here, he's like, if he shoots, he's gonna get them because Alvarez will say, come on, take me down. But I just think he's gonna stay safe. So I'm starting to lean on the Diakiese side. I'm not gonna play the money line because I do think the finish on Alvarez is super, super live. But the way I'm going to tackle it, I think, I've been like hesitant to say it on streams. I'm not one of these people who thinks bookies are watching my streams or anything like that. But this bet I'm like so hype about that I really don't want anyone to fuck it up. But I'm just going to say it. I'm looking for Diakiese decision only because I have a gut feeling that they're going to really screw that line up and for some reason favor Alvarez. And look, I know that we've seen people win rounds off their back. I know we're very damage heavy now. But is he going to win 3 rounds off his back? I don't think so. I really don't. So for me, that's the way to tackle it. If we get a playable line, I'm going to slap 2 units on it and call it a day. Because if Alvarez finishes like I think he very well might, get my money back. And if we go to a decision, I think I'm fairly confident it's going to go to Marc. Like if you tell me right now, Mike, 100%, this is coming from the future. They go to a decision. I would think Diakiese should be like minus 200 at that point. If for sure we were going to a decision.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. If this fight goes 15, you probably got to favor him. But at the same time, man, like I said in that Michael Johnson fight, that was just so eye-opening to me. You can't trust Diakiese at this point. You can't trust him to follow the game plan or do the right thing. So if he's not shooting for takedowns, just rapid fire on this guy. He should be. And if he's not, he could lose rounds at kicking range. He really could. And that all comes down to, does he follow the game plan or not? So that's where I just don't want to trust him whatsoever. If you get a nice sexy number on that decision only prop, you go for it. That sounds fantastic because it's decision only. But I do kind of think that's his only path to victory. I really don't see him finishing in any way in this fight. Nope, you're muted.
Sorry, I was saying it would have to be like Alvarez being exhausted in round 3 or something. Like that's the only way I kind of see it happening, and I don't think he's going to be exhausted. Like even in his Magula fight where he was short notice and he didn't get the fight that he wanted on the ground, he didn't look too exhausted to me in the 3rd round. He looked okay, so I think he should be fine. But we'll move on. Next up, we've got Danny Roberts versus Uncle Weezy's favorite fighter, Johnny Parsons. Danny Roberts is 18-7-0, 36 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. On the other side, you got Parsons, 8-3-0. He's 31. He's going to be 5 years younger. 3 inches shorter with a 5-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off here. Look, skill for skill, I think it's Roberts all day long. I think he's just a much better fighter. There's really not much I see from Parsons that I like. He's much smaller. I think he's kind of small for the weight class. I think his striking is good, but not that good. Like he's a striking coach at Syndicate, which kind of explains a lot because that's where Jordan Levitt trains. That's where the Kosei brothers are at. It kind of makes sense now. Like they should probably get a better striking coach. No disrespect to
Hey,
Parsons.
the Monkey King winning by knockout out here. Let's come on.
Cash that ticket, baby. But yeah, I think Roberts can win, but should win, but am I gonna trust him with my money? Hell no. Hell no. He's getting hurt too much. Do I think Parsons has crazy power? No. Do I really think he's gonna knock him out? No. But I can't put my money on it because I do think that's a distinct possibility, and he is 36 at this point. So I think Roberts is the better man, but I feel like Parsons is probably going to pull this out somehow. How about you, Clint?
Man, I'm kind of leaning the other way on this one, but that's mostly because I'm kind of a notorious Danny Roberts hater. I just don't think he's ever really been that good. He seems to be good at everything, but he's kind of mediocre at everything. He's got decent power. He can wrestle okay. His cardio is all right. The one thing is he's fragile. And I think we're seeing towards the end of his run here that fragility is starting to add up. The fights are taking a toll on him. He seems to not react to shots quite as well anymore. And I'm not sold on Johnny Parsons even a little bit. Like, I'm not excited about this guy whatsoever. He went to a split with Solomon Renfro. That fight, you know what it proved to me, though? He's durable as shit. Like, that's the thing. The one thing that I can trust Johnny Parsons is better at than hot chocolate is that he can take a punch. So if these guys are going to slug it out and he's going to whip that head kick out there 6 times over the course of this fight, I can't trust that Danny Roberts is going to be able to take that thing and cash a ticket for me. So I've been betting changing of the guard all year, man. I've been betting on these older fighters to get ushered out by the younger generation. This is a spot where I kind of want to go against that because Roberts should have this guy covered literally everywhere. And I just think he's going to eat a head kick at some point. So I'm staying off it. I'm staying clear away. This feels like a trap. I'm not having anything to do with this one. I wouldn't be shocked one bit if Roberts comes out and dummies Parsons because he just isn't on this level on Saturday. However, like I said, he could be dominating for 14 minutes and then die the way Kamaru Usman did at the end of the 5-round title fight with one big head kick. And that could just be it. It could just be over. So I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I feel like Roberts really might style on him, but can't trust the guy, especially not at this point in his career. There's just no way. But we can move on. This fight is going to be violence personified. We got Davey Grant versus Daniel Marcos. Grant 13-6-0. He's 37 at this point, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Marcos 14-0. He's undefeated, 30 years old. He's 7 years younger, 1 inch shorter. And he's going to have the same reach at 69 inches. And why don't you start us off, Clint?
Man, I love me some dangerous Davey Grant. That's my guy right there. I love this man. He is built out of iron, comes forward, slings hooks, and just keeps going to war until somebody falls over. Man, I cannot believe the round 3 comeback submission win in his last fight over Asuncao. Got his ass beat, just like I was talking about in the last breakdown, for 14 minutes, got schooled, and found a way to win. Like, you've got to love that about a fighter. On top of that, he's been chin checked by every power puncher in this weight class, still has yet to go down. He's in his backyard. He's maybe a little bit older, but I don't know this Daniel Marcos, man. Like, he's 14-0, and he feels like a guy that should never have even been on the Contender. I think he's legit. I think he can fight in the UFC. He belongs here. I'm okay with him as an addition to the roster. But I don't know that he should be fighting Davey Grant this fast. I know people are excited about him. I know he's got a fun style, but man, like, he goes the way he fights. I think someone like Davey Grant could be the guy that spoils the party. Like, he drops his hands. He does attack the body a lot. I like his knees. I like his kicks. He manages range pretty well. He picks his shots, but it's all one and done. It's like pot shot, pot shot, pot shot. There's no combos. There's no putting it all together. And then when he does have somebody hurt or when he thinks he can flurry on somebody, he drops his hands and he just rushes in. And I think someone like Davey Grant with those big old power hooks is going to be able to connect with him, man. I don't really know that he's got that impressive of a, record. He's got some decent wins on here, but a lot of also just bums. I don't know what to make of this guy. I, again, kind of think the line maybe should be backwards just because Davey Grant is the proven commodity at this point, and he's on home soil. But again, it almost feels a little trappy to me. So I'm kind of staying away from this one. But if I was going to bet it, it would be Davey Grant.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. When I was taping this, I was like pretty torn because I feel like Daniel Marcos is almost like a younger version of Davey Grant. They do fight different, but like the violence is there, the pressure is there. But Davey Grant, he's a hard ask of anybody. And like I know that he went close with the Sun Sal. He not close, he was losing very, very much so. And I had Davey Grant there, and I was like, God damn it. I was already chalking up the loss. And then he pulls that crazy shit, and I was just like, okay, I'll take it. But you could kind of see the age coming in. I feel like you could. And Marcos, he can be hittable, but at the same time, 71% striking defense so far in the UFC. Not that impressive considering one of the guys was Brandon Lewis on the Contender Series, and the other fella is Simon Oliveira, who's a killer, be killed fighter. But the way he fights, it's so violent. I love the knees and the elbows. I love the clinch game. I love the forward pressure. I like the range striking. But at the same time, I also really love what Davey Grant does. Like, I normally don't like guys with their hands down, but Davey Grant makes it work because he just comes from the hip with these punches, and the power on them is just, it's insane. So, and like, it's not like Marcos is going to wrestle him like a Sunsao did. That's not going to be in the mix. This is going to be on the feet. And do I think Grant's going to wrestle? He hasn't really done it. He's shot like one takedown per fight, and he hasn't got one since the Marlon Vera fight. So I don't really think he's going to shoot. If he does, he probably does have a ground edge here. We don't really know much about Marcos's ground game. He got taken down by Brandon Lewis, which again isn't a great look, but he didn't really get controlled too much there. I've been looking at violence here, the under 2.5 or the fight doesn't go. Pretty much nobody's touching it, so the lines haven't been moving much. I've seen a few people on the over. I was happy to see Wheezy considering the under because I get they're tough, but at the same time, how sustainable is this? Like, Marcos has gotten a knockdown in both of his fights. Davey Grant has gotten a knockdown in the Sunsao fight, the Smoka fight, the Martinez fight, the Martin Day fight. Both of them are extremely powerful, extremely violent. And I just feel like someone's going to go down. Whether it's Davey Grant for the first time, whether it's Marcos for the first time, I feel like someone is going to get hurt here and be out of it. So I can't pick a side. I'm going to stay off. I would have picked, like, I would be on Grant, especially now that he's plus 130. Maybe I will even end up on Grant at plus 130. But it's kind of the age that's worrying me. And I do think Marcos is pretty damn good and improving. But right now I'm staying off a side. And if anything, I'll play that violence, I think. And that's it.
Man, I'm actually kind of looking at it the other way. We've seen a couple fights recently where they just have no business going over. You know what I mean? Like these guys go in there and they slug it out, and there's multiple drops and knockdowns, and that's kind of what this fight feels like to me. Like neither of these guys have been finished by KO that way, and at least not recently if they have. Obviously Marcos never has, and actually I'm checking Davey Grant just to make sure I'm not stupid here. He's only been submitted. He's never been knocked out, and I don't know that that's going to change on Saturday. Like we could just see a slobber knocker 15-minute fight here where at the end of the day, you're going, holy crap, how did I not cash that ticket? You know, shout out to Alexander Volkanovski when he was in that guillotine with his head turning purple. I should have cashed that under. What happened? Like that's kind of how I feel like this fight is going to go. I don't want to talk you off a bet or anything, but like that's just the hairs on the back of my neck. I'm like, man, I think these guys might just be too tough. I can't play a total on this one myself personally.
No, I totally get it. There's a reason I've been like looking at it, but haven't been able to pull the trigger yet because they are extremely tough. Like you said, Grant never been knocked out. He has been knocked down recently. The Martin Day fight, he got knocked down. He got knocked down in the Jonathan Martinez fight. So I really do think the age is catching up. But yeah, it's hard to get there with one guy being undefeated and the other guy never being knocked out and a sub not really being in the mix here. But we can move on. This next fight I'm also really excited for. We've got Lerone Murphy versus Josh Culibao. Murphy, he's 12-0-1, 32 years old, 5'9" with a 73-inch reach. On the other side, you got Culibao. He's 11-1-1, 29. He's 3 years younger, 1 inch taller, same reach. I'll start us off here. So I recently had to sit myself down and be like, okay, Culibao is not trash like you thought. I thought Culibao was a bum. I thought he was lucky to make it this far, and I've had to turn it around. Like watching his stuff, it's like, okay, the kid is good. He's clearly a good fighter. Like, you got to stop fading him just because he's Culibao. You got to fade him only if it makes sense now. And luckily, I do think it makes sense here. I think Lerone Murphy has him completely covered, to be completely honest. Maybe the power to Culibao, but a big maybe. I mean, we saw Murphy knock out Ramos with ground and pound. The guy he's brutal with the power. I think he's the cleaner striker. I think he's a more likely guy to wrestle. I've seen some people saying Culibao's going to wrestle. Guys, when does he really do that? I know he got that sub against Melsik, but there was no takedown involved. It was just a really opportunistic, slick grab that he did. I mean,
I literally had that conversation today. A guy talked to me about like, oh, what do you mean he can't grapple? He submitted Mel. I'm like, bro, there was no takedown. He dove on the man after he slipped.
It was beautiful. It was opportunistic and great. I mean, of course, but it doesn't mean he can grapple. And I just think that if anyone's going to be having a lot of success in the wrestling, it'll be Murphy. And I think Murphy's the cleaner striker. I think he stays more safe. I think he's just more skilled. And I really have a hard time seeing him lose. Maybe if he freezes up, but like, this isn't Gabriel Santos. Like, Santos is good. I know he just lost, but the dude is freaking good. And I had so much money on Murphy against Santos, but man, Santos fucking beat him. Santos beat him. And I literally had the post. I think I posted it. I always do the reverse jinx shit, and people get so upset at me. I posted Murphy lost. I'm calling it. And then the judges completely robbed Santos, and everybody blames me. And I'm like, dude, reverse jinx is a joke. I just made the post.
But you caused it.
But yeah, man, I think he's just too clean. Right now, I just have him in a parlay with Aspinall. It came out at plus 103. This is when Murphy was minus 150. I didn't want to play 1.5 on him, so I threw him in a parlay. Now that he's minus 130, I would have just played him straight probably. I might add to it, honestly. I really might. I think he's just the better guy here, but at the same time, I don't want to doubt Culibao too much anymore. I do want to give him some credit. And would I be shocked if he picked up 2 rounds against Murphy? No, I wouldn't, but I just don't think it's going to happen. How about you, Clint?
Man, I'm kind of the opposite on this one. Josh Culibao is a guy that I felt like has been sneaky good value his entire run here in the UFC. You know what I mean? I kind of woke up to him a little earlier, I think, than some people, but I still didn't expect just what we've gotten from him. His durability is insane. Like, you go back and look, he's got 1 finished loss on his record, and it's my guy Jalen Turner. He got flattened out, back mounted, and the referee had to step in. He was never unconscious. And in fact, the second that Jalen got off him, he popped right back up. He wasn't wobbly on his feet. Like, this guy has a steel reinforced skull. I don't know what it's going to take to knock him out. He doesn't have the best takedown defense in the world, but frankly, neither of these guys go to the wrestling all that much or all that well. Culibao can't hit takedowns. Lerone Murphy can't defend a takedown, so maybe he'll get one this week. But we have yet to see Culibao actually land a takedown after trying, I think, like 13 of them in the UFC. He's just not a wrestler, man. So we're going to end up probably getting another striking matchup out of this one. I kind of favor Josh Culibao just a little bit because of that range, because of that reach. He's so fast. He's going to have a big speed advantage here in this spot. And I don't know that Murphy's going to be able to put that lights out shot on him because nobody's been able to so far. I think this is a great fight, man. I think this is going to be one to maybe target live because we might get a stupid number where the judges and the bookies are not seeing the fight the same way, and you can jump in at that point. I've been a big Lerone Murphy fan. I warned everyone to stay off him last time out with that big price tag on him. I said that fight was going to be close and competitive.
He opened minus 130 there. That's the line I had.
Oh, really? I thought he was up in the 200s. Wasn't he like minus 250 against
So that fight was one of the rare times that DraftKings dropped the line before Bet Online.
Oh, okay.
So DraftKings hit him at minus 130 and Bet Online dropped him at like minus 225.
I forgot about that.
Something like that.
Okay. Well, they got their bacon saved because he won that thing by split. But you know, I just am kind of going back and I've taken the fan goggles off and kind of rewatched his run here. And Gabriel Santos really woke us all up a little bit, but it's like, man, like he does really have some issues, doesn't he? Like he's tough as nails. He's good, but he's not really evolving. He's still just kind of the same guy that he was when he got here. I like him a lot. This should be a fun scrap, but I don't think he's going to knock out Joshua Culibao. I don't think he's going to stick to a wrestling plan. And that means we're going to have a 15-minute striking battle. Josh might try to grapple. If he is able to get his first UFC takedown, then congratulations, but you're not holding Lerone Murphy down. He's getting back up. So I think it's another spot where if it's a playable over, maybe we look that way and don't bother picking a side, man. That's kind of how I'm approaching this one. I will lean with Lerone Murphy via split decision because he's got, the backyard cheering for him here, and that just seems to be how his fights goes. But realistically, for me, it would be dog or pass. I'd be looking at the plus 120 on Josh Culibao if I was going to put my money on this fight.
I'm currently pulling up Bet Online. I want to see if they gave us a split because that's an interesting one. I've seen a few people on the Culibao spread, which is a great look. It's a really good look, but it's minus 200, which is not good. But let me see I want to see if they gave us a split decision for this one.
Culibao by split is 11-1.
No way. How about Murphy?
Murphy by split is 700. The fight just to go to a split in general is that plus 450.
Like you said, pretty much exactly.
Like I said, man, if it's a men's fight, they give you that extra 50 cents. If it's a women's fight, they take away that extra 50 cents. I think that's the finishability, right? Like they expect the men will finish more fights than the women do. Women go to splits a whole lot more often. So we're getting extra 50 cents on this one, but this one smells like a split to me.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody's confident on the fight making it to a decision, this might very well be a great spot for that split decision prop. Me personally, I'm a little off of it because I know Culibao's hard to knock out, but I wouldn't be too shocked if Murphy got him. I think he's very clean with it. Culibao tends to have his hands down a bit. And Murphy, I mean, if you've seen him recently, the dude is fucking shredded. Culibao's over here representing guys like me with a little bit of flab hanging off the sides. But
now,
hey,
don't talk to me about that. Me and Pogues are in the same weight class. So
hey, Pogues is out here representing too, man. But we can move on. Next up, we've got Jai Herbert versus Ziam. Herbert, he's 12-4-1. He's 35 years old at this point, 6'1" at the 77-inch reach. On the other side, you got Ziam, 13-4-0. He's 26. He's going to be 9 years younger. Same height, a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Why don't you start us off, Clint?
Man, just this card, I'm telling you, it's low-key a banger, man. This whole fight card. I like this fight. I like it a lot, and I'm maybe more excited about it than I should be. But Jai Herbert in his backyard as an underdog, again, I just don't get it. For Ziam, he's young. I don't want to say he's exciting. He's a decent prospect, but man, this guy's tall. He's lanky, and he fires off one punch at a time, all the while running backwards. He's super elusive. He's super defensively sound. He's hard to hit, but his offense suffers because of it. I really feel like, visually speaking, unless he's just styling on his opponents, he could lose some fights with people being the aggressor. You know what I mean? Just with them walking forward and pressuring this guy, it's not going to look great to the judges. He struggled with grappling in his last fight. He actually is the one who forced the grappling, so obviously something that he's working on. We know Jai has a tough time with the takedowns, but he looked fine defending takedowns in his last fight against Kyle Nelson, who's a big old strong dude. So I'm not so sure Ziam's just going to come out and be able to take Herbert down and do whatever he wants to him on the feet. I think this is competitive. I think Ziam is going to have a speed advantage potentially, but Jai Herbert's got the reach and he probably hits harder. The chat already brought it up. He absolutely had Tybura on skates in that first round. Like, this guy can crack, but I'm not betting against a fighter who's 9 years younger, man. This, like I mentioned, the changing of the guard. I bet on Jai Herbert in his UFC debut, and I will never, ever forgive him for getting bonked on the forehead, going full-on giraffe leg, newborn baby giraffe with the stanky leg, and falling apart after a beautiful 10-minute performance. He's got a ceiling. He's not as good as everyone kind of thought he was coming over here. I don't think Ziam's got the power to touch his chin the way that you need to actually put him down. But I think we're going to get another pitter-pattery striking match maybe in this one. I kind of favor Jai just ever so slightly. I think the line doesn't make a whole lot of sense. A lot of people want to jump on the fade Jai Herbert train, but this seems like a winnable fight to me, man. I'm leaning towards Jai. Can't trust him with my money, but that's my pick.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always respected Jai. I know a lot of people have been shitting on him for a long time now. I've always thought he's good. I think his range striking is fantastic. Everything is nice, straight, down the pipe, combinations, really fast. And I know he hurt Topuria, my freaking guy, but I was yelling before that fight, why, Ilya? Why are you going up to 155? This is not the move. You are not a big person. And I was almost proven right. He almost got freaking knocked out. He got his own KO. That was great, but I didn't think Ilya should have been doing that, and I really hope he doesn't do that in the future. I feel like Herbert at range here might be a little bit better, but the closer they get, I think it's going to be Ziam. And if anybody's going to wrestle, I do think it's going to be Ziam who's getting the success. You know, he's the younger guy. He's the one who's, 29, 27? I don't remember. 26. He's the one still improving. He's at Killcliff. I love that camp. Really good camp for guys like him, I think. And I just feel like he's the more well-rounded person. He's the one still improving. At range, like I said, I think Herbert might have an edge, but I think it's close. And the closer we get in distance, I think Ziam is going to start finding more and more success. I did get him at plus odds, though, so I do have to say that. I got him at plus 125 for Ziam, which I'm really, really happy about. That's now that he's minus 150, but so far my luck with CLV has not been great. Every time I beat the line movement, I lose. Every time I bet the wrong line, and then it moves the other way, I end up winning.
I was right there with you, man. That's been happening to me a lot this year. I broke the curse last week with my girl, Aileen Perez. So you can do it too. I have faith in you. You can break the CLV curse this week.
Perez was so clutch last week. I only had a unit on her. And, dude, I bet her KO. And we
what a brutal beat.
I had a brutal beat last week with 3 props. That one, Perez KO plus 600, super close. I had the Costa sub plus 550. Almost hit it twice in the third freaking round. And then I had Norma Dumont by knockout. I mean, she sent Chelsea Chandler running out of the cage.
Woof.
And I was like, God damn it. But, yeah, CLV's been rough with me. Hopefully it works out this time around. We can move on. Next up, we've got Andre Muniz versus Paul Craig. Another weight movement that's weird. We had Barbarina moving up, and now we have Craig moving down. Muniz 23-5-0. He's 33 years old, 6'1" with the 78-inch reach. Craig on the other side, you got 16-6-1. He's going to be 2 years older, 2 inches taller, but he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off. So Muniz, for me, I mean, I was so disappointed in that last fight. It was 2 guys who I have always backed. I always back Brendan Allen, and I've always backed Andre Muniz. And I have always said Andre Muniz is my dark horse. I thought if he beat Allen, one more fight, we're going to the title, we're subbing Izzy, and we're getting that strap. And then everything fell apart in the Allen fight. I looked like a big old dummy. But there were a few good things there. We saw that his striking has come a long way. His striking has come a long way. He can strike now, which is really important because there's nothing worse than a guy with great grappling who can't set up those takedowns because that never works out well. So I'm really happy that his striking has come along. His wrestling has always been fantastic. His jiu-jitsu is some of the best in the UFC. And so is Craig's. But look, first off, I don't get why Craig is going down. I don't understand. At 205, he's had a bunch of success. I know he's got a bunch of losses too, but I mean, you've got to win over the current champion. Well, he just gave up the belt. The previous champion, Jamal Hill. You had to win over Ankalaev, who should have been champion. The guy had...
Whoa.
Did you have Blakovic there?
don't get me started on Ankalaev.
But man, what is going to happen with that weight class?
It's a mess. It is such a mess.
I don't even know what they're going to do. I hope we get a fight. Do you think they're going to make Blakovic Pereira the title fight?
I don't. I mean, both those guys are so, like, they've got kind of the bad taste in their mouths right now. It's going to be hard to put a belt on either of them. Honestly, man, I think the winner of that fight gets on Ankalaev. Dude's been out forever. I know Dana wanted him to, like, go prove himself, but who do you got at this point? Like, if Jerry's not ready to fight one of those guys for the belt, you've either got Ankalaev or what's his biscuit, the other dude that I hate in the weight class.
What's his biscuit?
Doesn't deserve to be in the top 5.
I want to hear this one.
Oh, I can't even remember his name, which is terrible. Like, if I'm going to be a hater, I should at least know the guy's name. But I can't remember it. Let me look it up real quick here. I'll tell you.
If it's
Rakic, Alexander Rakic. I'm like, get that bum out of here. No, but those are the only guys. Those are literally the only guys left. Johnny Walker, like Anthony Smith is sitting at number 7. There's nobody. 205 is legitimately in shambles right now, man. I think they're praying Jiri gets back in time, and this fight will be for a number 1 contender slot, not for a belt. I'm hoping they make like Ankalaev Rakic so he has to do something again. But if Jiri's not ready to go, I'll bet you Ant gets the call.
The thing is, Ankalaev would smoke Pereira, which is so not fun because it would just be so boring. But I feel like he would smoke him. The wrestling, I feel like, would just be too much. Yeah. But back to this fight. I don't know how we went on that tangent. No, good. But for this fight, yeah, I just think that Muniz, he's the better man. I think he's the better man. I think that Craig's chin is going to be questionable here. I know he's only been cracked by guys with crazy power like Menefield, like Johnny Walker. I mean, the way Johnny Walker knocked him out, it wasn't even at range. It was just like in the clinch, like him coming off going for a takedown. He was just hammering on him till he went out. But honestly, like I took a shot on Muniz for a KO here at plus 650. The line since has crashed. It opened at like plus 800. But I hopped on at plus 650 because I think that on the feet, do I think he's going to knock him out? No, but I think it's possible. But I think on the ground, I think because the jiu-jitsu is going to be relatively close with an edge to Muniz, I think the ground and pound is going to be very live at least a few times in this fight. So I took a shot on there, and I've got Muniz in a parlay with Aspinall, my anchor this week that we'll talk about later. But I'm a little concerned because Craig he's got this talent to just pull things out of the fire when he's losing. I mean, like, he'll be losing, and he'll just pull it out. The dude's got heart, but at the same time that he's got heart, but like we saw in the Uzdemir fight, it's only going to take you so far. So I'm really curious what the ground game is going to look like here between the two of them. I think the scrambles are going to be awesome. I think there's going to be sub attempts from each side, but I have to think that Muniz is going to pull this one out. I think he'll just be better in the striking. I think his offensive wrestling is better. And I think jiu-jitsu, he's going to have a slight edge. So for me, it's Muniz. How about you, Clint?
Yeah, I'm with you here, man. I'm with you. I absolutely think that KO prop was super sharp, and I was waiting for it. Unfortunately, it's down to plus 400 for me, so I'm not going to get nearly as sexy of a line. But I absolutely think that's the way to look at this thing here, because sometimes when you get two high-level grapplers, they end up striking with each other. That's not necessarily going to happen here because neither Craig nor Muniz is afraid of anybody, so there's no canceling out bullshit going on here. But honestly, man, I think it's a massive red flag that Paul Craig is trying to drop a weight class here at this stage of his career. What it tells me is that he is not confident enough in his skill set, and or he can't learn the next skill set. So instead of doing those things or working to fix those gaps, he's just trying to look for an advantage, which is weight and size and strength, and that never works out. You go down a weight class and your skills were not working at the weight class up, they're not going to suddenly be spectacular. The weight class down, you've still got the same exact skill set. I think the weight cut is going to drain him. It's probably going to hurt that chin even more. And when they get in there, we've seen Paul Craig has zero takedown offense. Like, I've seen him on the deepest of double legs, and he still ends up pulling for a heel because he does not know how to complete wrestling style takedowns. Muniz is going to be on top. As long as this guy minds his P's and Q's, he's a world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. He definitely still has the advantage grappling. And I think he's by far the better striker. He's not a small man at 185 either. So it's not like Paul Craig is going to have some insane size advantage coming down and taking on one of the biggest guys in the division. I like Muniz KO. I think that's a good look.
Hell yeah. I'm happy to hear that one. But you had a good point with like the fact that Muniz isn't going to be scared of the ground game either. That's the one thing that gives me pause. Because like the Jacare Souza fight, right? Like he didn't give a shit. He's like, let's go. And then he took his arm off. Yeah. Literally. So hopefully
this guy's a contract killer. He's a contract killer on the ground. Like he's like, you want to wrestle? Okay, wrestle. Let's wrestle. Like No problem.
He's nasty. He's so nasty. I've been a huge fan of his for a while, but we can move on. Next up, we've got a great fight. We got Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Fili. Wood is 19-5-0, 29 years old. He's 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. This is now his third fight at featherweight in the UFC. Fili, 22-9-0. He's 33. He's going to be 5 inches taller and have a 5-inch reach advantage. Why don't you start us off, Clint?
Oh man, we're getting to the good stuff here. This is an interesting fight, man. I don't get it. I guess I'll just say it that way. I don't get it. This whole Nathaniel Wood experiment, it doesn't make sense to me. Don't get me wrong. He's good. He's flashy. He's exciting. He's high pace. He's high volume. I don't understand why everyone is laying 2-1 chalk in this spot. Like, maybe you can clear it up for me. Maybe I'll look like a freaking idiot on Saturday when he washes Andre Fili, but he is in the wrong weight class. I know he had a hard time making 135. He's very well muscled, maybe just a little too large for that weight class. I'm not entirely certain, but he moves up here to 145, and now he's at a 5-inch height disadvantage. Like, he is going to be tiny in there against Andre Touchy Fili. And it's not like he's built like a tank. Like, he was well muscled, but he's not like twice as wide as everybody at this weight class. So I don't know what he's going to do in here because he doesn't look anything like Joanderson Brito. He's a high pace, high volume guy. And he took down 2 guys in the weight class that have awful takedown defense. Charles Rosa can't defend a takedown to save his life. Charles Jourdain didn't know what the fuck to do with that foot sweep. He got put on his ass, 6-7 times in that fight with the same dinky little move. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't impressive. He didn't follow up and do anything with it. He just tripped him and put him on his butt 7 times through the course of the fight because Jourdain had no answer for it. That ain't working on Touchy Fili, man. That is not going to happen against Andre Fili. And when they are striking, Andre Fili is one of these flow guys. Like, he has decent volume himself. He's going to have that huge reach advantage. He's got the wrestling in his back pocket because he's been an alpha male his entire life. I don't understand how you get Nathaniel Wood 2-1 here. This is a spot where I'm very much considering betting the spread on Andre Fili, and I've never once in my life made a spread bet. I think they're confusing. They don't do a whole lot for me. I don't like the numbers. I would rather play the dog money line than hold my breath laying chalk on a spread bet. But this is one of the few times where I think maybe it makes a little bit of sense because this could be another split decision, man. This could be another high-paced fight where both guys get a takedown or two, but they have a scramble on the ground and then get back up and it's a whirlwind of knees and elbows. I don't think either of these guys is finishing. So if that's the case, I think we're getting another greasy decision where the judges are going to be a little confused. Yeah, maybe Nathaniel Wood has some hometown cooking. Yeah, maybe he has some of the flashier strikes, but if you're not finishing Andre Touchy Fili, like, what does that fight look like? He went to a split with Charles Jourdain. He went to a decision with Sadiq Youssef. Like, he KO'd Moraes. He sent that guy to the PFL. He went to a split with Bill Aljo. These are all guys that have high pace and volume, the same that Nathaniel Wood does. And people talking about Wood suddenly coming out and finishing. How? Why? Like, he hasn't finished anybody in the UFC since 2019. Like, he's not coming out here and pacing Fili and gassing him out and then nuking him in the 3rd round. You know who knocks out Andre Fili? Joanderson Brito does. Like, no, unless you've got that kind of muscle on you, you're not knocking this guy out. I don't get it. Mike, make it make sense. I think this is dog or pass clearly from a betting perspective. I can't find an argument the other way.
So I am on the other side. First thing I want to mention is you brought up the spread, and the first thing I did was I wanted to know what it was. It's like the only fight on Bet Online that they didn't put it up.
They probably got hammered on it.
So I think they must have fucked it up. People went ham and then they took it down because that's a great look. I mean,
so that's the judges' scorecards. Like, for anybody who doesn't know, like, the spread essentially is like in football, you know, you're getting extra points. Basically, you're betting on the judges to score the fight. So if you're getting, and it's always in MMA, it's always 3.5. So if this fight goes to a decision, you have to lay 3.5 on a fighter. That means a unanimous decision for them or they finish. So as long as one judge scores 1 round for Andre Fili at +3.5, you win the bet. So you can lose the decision even if it's 2-1 but you got your one judge. That covers the spread. Again, it's confusing. It's weird. I've never bet it in my life before. This fight has me tempted to do that.
So I think it's 3 judges. I think you need 1 round across 3 judges.
Do you really?
Yeah.
See, that makes me even less inclined to bet it. That's stupid.
What you have to do is you got to add up the total scorecards from all judges, and that's how you get the number. I've had to really figure it out.
Okay.
It really is great.
So like a 29-27, you would win if those were the final cards because you've got 3.5.
I'd have to sit down and do the math.
That doesn't make sense either. I don't know.
There's a reason I went to law school, and it's because I can't do math to save my life. So this is something I had to sit down and like. I really like 3.5s because it's a good way to take a dog, and sometimes you still get plus money. Like Nicholas Dalby, I had a great price on him at plus 3.5 against who was it, Salikov, and I felt great about that one because he at least won 1 round, then he won the fight. It was fantastic, but I actually like the spreads, and here it doesn't make sense. But for me, so I was with you in the boat of why did Wood move up? Like why? And it must be the weight cut. And I doubted him to the point where I actually bet Charles Rosa against him. I threw a sprinkle on it because I was like, why is Wood coming up? And then against Jourdain, again, I bet on Jourdain. And honestly, after watching it, I'm cool with him moving up. I think it's going to be a problem. I don't like for him. I don't think he's going to be able to reach the upper echelon of the division. I think he's just too small. But while I think Fili is great, I think he's really good. He's pretty hittable, and especially closer in range. Like at range, it's going to be Fili landing the better strikes. But Nathaniel Wood, he keeps that high guard, right? So he's going to keep the high guard. Fili's going to go to the body, and then Wood's going to close in. And just the things he was doing against Jourdain, like I haven't trained striking, only ever done wrestling, judo, sambo, that kind of thing. So I can't really speak to the technique, but to my untrained eyes, it was slick, the things he was doing, the way he was like moving away from strikes at the same time landing his own. It was impressive to me. And taking down Charles Jourdain, not impressive. Worst takedown defense probably in the featherweight division up there.
Pretty much.
But same amount of takedowns that Fili got. They both took him down 5 times. And I feel like Wood, I think the power really has improved. Like he really does seem more powerful now. Like he was hurting Jourdain a few times on the feet. And I just think that he's going to be landing the better shots. I think he's going to be able to keep it at the distance he needs. I think he's going to be able to close that range. And I am interested about the wrestling, but I have a gut feeling that Wood might have the better, more success with the grappling here. I think he might have more success here. I think he's going to be a little bit difficult to take down. When you have somebody short and stocky, it's a little bit hard to go in there and shoot your double legs, your single legs. You kind of want to go like on their head and then snap them down. That's kind of the better strategy with a short and stocky dude. But I just think that he's going to be able to defend takedowns from Fili. And I just think on the feet, he's going to land the better shots. I think that, of course, the home judging might help him out, but I'm not depending on that. I'm never going to depend on that in my bets. I'll never place a bet saying, I hope we get a robbery. But I just think he's going to be able to pull this one off. I really do. I think he's still improving. He is a stud, and he's very intelligent in the cage. That's something I've noticed. He's got a really good fight IQ, and I do think he's going to be able to win this one. I kind of like violence here. I've been staring at the under 2.5 at plus 190 like all week long, because you look at them, and both of them in almost every fight recently have been hurt. Pretty much both of them every time. Fili got dropped by Jourdain. He got hurt against Algeo. Wood got hurt against Jourdain, got knocked out by Dodson. Both of them have been hurt. Both of them have been knocked out. And it makes me really tempted on the under 2.5 because both of them also have power here. Both of them, I think, are going to be landing really powerful shots. I think Fili's kicks are really good and really powerful. So I'm starting to really consider throwing like a half unit on that under 2.5. We'll see if I get there. I already put 2 units down on Wood, and I'm already a little bit nervous because I do respect Fili big time. I've bet him in most of his fights. He's a guy I like to back, and Wood is a guy who I've been trying to fade at featherweight, so I kind of went the other way here. But just watching it, my brain and my gut are lining up, so I had to take a 2-unit shot on Wood here.
I hear you, man. I'll wish you luck. I am definitely not going to be there. If I'm on anything, it's going to be the other side of this one.
Fair
I've got to
game.
see. Honestly, man, I'm not even sure what's holding me back. I got to find my balls here because I've kind of been in the same boat as you, where I've been trying to fade Wood, and I've also been impressed by his skill set. And you're right, he is slick and he does flow well, and his defensive and offensive, combinations. He's very quick with all of that, but like, this is a massive step up in competition. I know that Fili went to a split with Charles Jourdain, but frankly, Fili's the better fighter, and he landed 5 takedowns in that fight, whereas Wood swept the leg 5 times. Like, that's not the same thing to me. He might lose on volume. That's possible. Maybe he will. But I just can't get around minus 205. Like, minus 200 is just too much for me here.
You know what would open that? I just pulled it up.
No, what?
Minus 325.
Jeez. Yeah, see that? I don't know. I'd throw up in my mouth a little bit. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who grabbed Fili at plus 275, you did your job. Now you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. That's crazy. But we'll move on. Next up, we've got our co-main event. This is going to be something. We got Molly McCann versus Julia Stoliarenko. McCann, she's 13-5-0. She's 33 years old, 5'4" with a 62-inch reach. On the other side, you got Stoliarenko, 10-7-1. She's going to be 3 years younger, 3 inches taller, and have a 7-inch reach advantage. Now, she's coming down to flyweight, which doesn't make any sense at all because she can barely make weight at bantamweight. I don't know what she's going to do here. And I'll start us off. I mean, in terms of picking a side, I guess it's McMahon for me, just because I do think she'll keep it on the feet. I don't really respect Stoliarenko's wrestling, and I don't know if Molly is dumb enough to take it to the ground. I mean, she might be. She gets really excited in these spots. She loves to fight in London. like Prop was saying on the previous show I was on, kind of fights like she's on some cocaine. But yeah, I think she should win. Am I going to lay any kind of chalk on her? Hell no. Hell no. And am I going to bet Julia Stoliarenko here as a dog? No. Not even when she was plus 280. That didn't excite me because she's too hittable. I'm not seeing too much offensive wrestling from her. I don't like her striking, and I don't understand why she's cutting weight or how she's going to make it or what she's going to look like. So the way I tackled this, I took the under. I didn't get the best of the line. I got a minus 134. It's better than it is now, but it opened like minus 105 or something. I feel like it's a great spot because Stoliarenko can't, if for some reason McMahon decides, let's wrestle, or Stoliarenko gets a takedown, that sub will be live. But at the same time, if we're on the feet, Stoliarenko is extremely hittable. She's coming down a weight class, can't cut weight to save her life. That shin, is it going to hold up when Molly's hitting her and hitting her and hitting her and hitting her and hitting her? I mean, the output on Molly is crazy. So I feel like we're either going to get a knockout from Molly or a sub from Julia. So I like that under. I threw only a half unit on it. I'm not going crazy. It's a women's MMA fight. It's a sloppy fight, but that's the way I'm tackling it. How about you, Clint?
I don't mind that one bit, man. I don't mind that at all. I kind of wish I had thought about it and gotten in on that under a little bit earlier because that makes some serious sense to me. And minus 155 is a little gross, but I definitely still think violence makes sense in this spot. I like Stoliarenko, man. I do. I actually am a little disappointed that she hasn't improved the way I had expected her to over the course of her career. I thought she'd be getting better by now. And I like Molly at a base level. You know, she's fun. She can wrestle. She hits hard. She's exciting and comes forward. But yeah, man, this is a spot where Molly is your co-main event. Stoliarenko is not your co-main event. But that doesn't mean that there isn't danger here. And that's kind of the thing for me is Julija Stoliarenko, from what I understand, now this is hearsay, I'm not entirely certain about this, but she supposedly has never done cardio her entire MMA career. And that's why she couldn't make weight. And that's why she always struggled on the scales. Bro, if she's out there running for the first time in her life, maybe she can make 125. And if that's true, she's a big, tough girl. She might have a size advantage in this spot. I am waiting to see her on the scales on Friday. That's it. Because if I can see a decent version of her on the scales, there's one thing Molly McCann has always struggled with, and that's grapplers. She's got 2 submission losses and 3 by decision. Blanchfield subbed her. Talia Santos decisioned her easily. Jillian Robertson choked her out. Like, she gets so over aggressive that she leaves openings for her opponents to take advantage of her. And if she goes to the wrestling, that's going to be just fine by Stoliarenko. So if she comes in healthy and has a size advantage, I'd be very tempted in the dog on this spot. You can always just go inside the distance or sub on Julija Stoliarenko because I've got a hard time seeing her win a decision. I think she's done it once. Yeah, once her entire career. 9 wins by sub, 1 by decision. If she's winning, that's the only way that it's really happening. So that plus 350 on the sub, that kind of makes sense to me if you just want to hedge things and play it that way. But violence is a good look, man. I'm glad you got in at a good number because under 2.5, I've got a hard time seeing this fight go 15.
If you like Julia and you don't think the decision's live for her, you could do the decision no action. It's plus 170 for Stoliarenko, which I think is a pretty good look. The only concern is if Molly comes out there and just beats her head into a pulp on the feet.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing, though, is Julija's survived to losing decisions before. She's got 3 of them on her record, so she's tough enough to take a beating and hang in there. I really think more often than not, it's Molly KO, Julija sub, but you never know, man. It's fighting. Sometimes people tough it out and do weird things.
You know what might be a little better than the under? DraftKings, they do like the alternate methods. So they'll offer Stoliarenko sub, Molly KO. That might bring the line down. But those are complicated because we're in MMA and it's so classic that you get a sub person and then they get a KO, or you get somebody who only gets KOs like Jack Della and then he pulls out a submission.
Yep. It's the worst when you've got a jiu-jitsu person and they go crucifix and then elbow somebody to get a TKO.
When I have a sub and I see them hit the crucifix, I'm just like, let go of the arm.
Yep. Dude, you got to be really careful because I fell into this. I preach it so often on my own show and I missed it just a couple weeks ago. If you remember Marcin Prachniow, he got submitted. It was bro's first UFC first submission in his entire pro record. He could have KO'd him 10 times. He wanted the sub. Knockout was minus 135. Inside the distance was like minus 150. Play inside the distance. Like when the numbers are that close to each other, play inside the distance. I don't care that he's a KO only person. That's factored into the number. It costs you 15 cents to stay safe. I lost a bet on the KO because he just wanted his first sub ever on his pro career. So don't fall into that trap in these kinds of spots. Check all the numbers before you click, because like Julija Stoliarenko inside the distance plus 275, sub plus 350. That's not a big enough gap for me if she gets her first ever TKO. Play inside the distance.
It's like I try to keep the same mindset. Like when Bilal fought Sean Brady and I bet Bilal, everyone was screaming at me, why don't you just bet Bilal by decision? When is he winning by KO? He never wins by KO. And I was like, dude, the difference is like, it's like minus 115 for the money line and like minus 105 for a decision. Why the hell would I do that? Like, I'll just play the money line. And then he gets his knockout. And I was like, boom. So, yeah, I definitely try to do the same thing. I didn't do it last, whatever it was with the Prachniow fight. I had the same situation, had that knockout. Every time he got into full mount, I was like, this is it. And then, no, it was not it.
Yep.
We'll move on to our main event of the evening. We've got Tom Aspinall versus Marcin Tybura. Aspinall 12-3-0. He's 30 years old, 6'5" with a 78-inch reach. On the other side, Tybura, he's 24-7-0. He's going to be 7 years older at 37. 2 inches shorter, same reach. Why don't you start us off for the main event, Clint?
Man, there's some fights we've talked about tonight that have deserved our love and attention, and the breakdowns have been spectacular, and we've talked about them and chopped them up inside and out. This one is actually a little disappointing to end the night on because it's a time saver, my dude. This is the biggest get-right spot we've seen in a long time. Or the biggest get-right fight, I guess, since Muradov and Barbarina. This is the same exact feel to me, man. Marcin Tybura is a gatekeeper in the heavyweight division. He has been for a long time. His entire game plan is predicated on tanking the damage that his opponents can dish out at him, waiting for them to gas, and then taking advantage of that once they finally slow down. If he's not facing a gas bag, he dies. He fought Blagoy Ivanov. That went to a decision because Blagoy doesn't have any offensive firepower. He was able to outscore him there. He barely beat Alexander Romanov. Again, gas bag. Survived round 1, took over. He beat Walt Harris, bigger gas bag. The guy's only got 3 minutes of cardio and then dies. Greg Hardy, he's not in the UFC anymore. Gas bag, needs an inhaler. Like, that's what this guy is. So if you've got any type of athleticism, if you've got any type of speed, and frankly, if you've got any type of KO power, he just cracks. So I think this is Aspinall's welcome back to the UFC fight. They're giving him a highlight reel in his backyard, looking for him to score the big finish. And I know a lot of people out there are making a case for Tybura. It doesn't exist, folks. Like, Tom is not going to death gas after a round and a half. The only way he loses this fight is if that knee is not completely repaired or he catches his toe in the cage. Like, that's the only way I can possibly see Tybura actually winning this fight. Is he a better wrestler? No. Is he a better grappler? No. Is he a better striker? No. Is he more durable? Definitely not. Does he have better cardio? Maybe. Like, that's the only one. It's Aspinall by murder on Saturday, man.
I'm 100% with you. I mean, Aspinall's my anchor on 3 parlays. It's a total stake of 3.6 units, which I'm comfortable with here. Like, I'm way more comfortable with him than Muradov. Like, I'm comfortable with Muradov, but like you said, this is a clear get right spot. And like, I'm not a Tybura hater. I love the guy. He's been a money train for me, an absolute money train. I had him against Sergey Spivak. I had him against Grisham. I had him against Rothwell. I had him against Hardy, Harris. I bet against him in the Volkov fight. I bet him against Romanov, cashed 2 units on that. That was so good. And then I bet him against Ivanov. Dude, I had his round 3 sub against Ivanov at like plus 4,500 or something. And then he had his back in the 3rd round. And I was like, go, go, go. Didn't get it. But I'm not a hater of him. I love the guy. He's made me a lot of money. But, dude, what is he, like you said, what does he have over Aspinall? Nothing. And like, we can think about the cardio, but Tybura's never been in a 5-rounder. We have no evidence that he won't get tired, and he has tired down in fights too. So I just feel like Aspinall is way too good. Like, the dude is a stud. His jiu-jitsu is fantastic. He's a BJJ coach at whatever gym he trains at. I forget the name now. His striking is super crisp. The boxing is really good. I mean, I don't know what Tybura can do here. Like, he's going to need him to gas. He's going to need it to make it to round 4, and then he's going to have to pull something crazy. And I just don't see it. I think there's a reason they made Tybura Aspinall as the main event. They want him to get right at home, and I think he's going to do it. I'm most confident in him on the entire card. I really think like it's going to take a miracle for Tybura here.
Man, hot takes all day. Here we are talking up this minus 500 favorite. No, but I hear you. I absolutely hear you, man. I think it's a setup spot for him. I think he's supposed to win this fight, and I think he will. I think it's going to be a knockout too. I think he comes back in like stellar fashion. I know Tom will take his time a little bit more. He's not as dumb as some of these other fighters are, but he still has speed and he still has nukes. And I think Tybura's chin conditions come back a little bit. He's been knocked out 4 times over the course of his professional career. And now he's much, much older. He's taken a lot of damage to survive to some of these decision wins that he's gotten. I think it's nail in the coffin here. Aspinall's going to get him.
Moise is hitting a point that I missed. 100% right. He did. I completely forgot this happened. He did go to a 5-round.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
With Fabricio Verdum. This was back in 2017. So
good catch.
He's shown the cardio, but I mean, this is in 2017. Like, it's been a minute. He's much older now. And to be honest, I just don't think it's going to come in. Like, I don't think we're going to make it that far. So
yeah, I'm never doubting the cardio. I'm not poking holes in the cardio of Marcin Tybura ever. I think he's definitely capable of going that long. I worry about the chin and I worry about the skill set in this spot. That's it.
Yeah, I just think Tommy's better here. But like you said, no reason to keep talking about a minus 500. It's like Brady's weekly posts where he puts up like the minus 1,000 favorite. He's like, hot take alert. This guy's winning. And then some people actually take him serious. But all right, guys, that's 15 fights. Thank you guys all for tuning in for UFC London. Big thank you to Clint for coming on. As always, I really appreciate it, Clint. Really like breaking down fights with you. Why don't you plug yourself real quick, and then we'll hop right on out. And in terms of myself, I'm not doing any more content this week. I did a show today on the MMA Engine. did the props to consider and maybe bet that I've taken over for Lou for the meantime. Make sure to run that back. That was fun. Not going to do anything else. I've got the bar exam next week. Can't do any more content, but that's all I got. How about you?
Hey,
Clint?
kick some ass on that bar exam, man. Good luck. That's some real life stuff right there.
Gonna need it.
And thank you for having me. I always love coming on and talking shows with you. It's always a good time. This is a fun card to break down, so I really appreciate the invite. But of course, you guys can find me over on Pub Sports Radio at Die Hard MMA Pod or the Die Hard MMA Podcast on all social media platforms. I will have my total takedown coming out tomorrow, where I'll talk specifically on the overs and unders, and then my Friday undefeated post weigh-in show. We've got some seriously sketchy weigh-ins coming this week, man. I can't wait for that. With so many fights, people changing weight classes, lower level stuff, we get weight misses, and it makes the show a whole lot of fun for Fridays. So looking forward to that one. And yeah, man, just thanks for having me on again. It was a good time.
Hell yeah. You're going to have so much to talk about on Friday, probably, with these weigh-ins.
It's going to be a long show.
So much. But all right, guys, thank you guys all once again. Everybody watching live, anybody watching in the future, appreciate you. Good luck with your bets and have a good one, guys.